In this video, we look at making up a standard solution. This is associated with the practical AB1, called wash sod, where you are asked to measure out between 3.9 grams and 4.1 grams of the washing soda. This is often the case. If you use a weighing boat, it is possible to weigh out a specific amount of the solid. But frequently you're asked to make up a solution with an approximate concentration, and therefore you are asked to measure out a mass over a certain range. But you must measure that mass accurately. In order to do this, we simply use a piece of paper. The piece of paper has been folded once so that it is easy to pour into the beaker. So we make sure that it is tared first of all at 0.0, and we then place the piece of paper on, and we take that value, 1.14. So if we have to measure out between 3.9 and 4.1, then clearly we need to get to approximately 5.14. Making sure you're very careful not to spill any. That's why it's best to do this particular process away from the balance so that you don't spill any solid onto the balance. But equally, you need to have some idea of how much you are adding. So periodically you might put this back onto the balance. .52, and we're aiming for around about 5.14. It doesn't matter so much if you spill here, because of course the solid does not end up on the balance. .11. And so from that you can calculate the mass. However, to make absolutely certain of the mass, we are going to now transfer the solid to a beaker, and then for absolute accuracy we're going to reweigh the piece of paper. Now it's possible that some of the solid may still be on the paper and hasn't gone into the beaker, in which case it does in fact weigh 1.14, but it might have weighed 1.15 or 1.16, and that would be the correct calculation. So the mass that has been transferred here is the mass of the paper plus the solid minus the mass of the paper after it has been transferred into the beaker. We now make up the solution. To make up the solution, we need to add some distilled water. We're going to dissolve this amount of washing soda in 250 cm cubed of distilled water, or rather we're going to make the solution up to 250 cm cubed with distilled water. So at this stage we mustn't of course add too much water, because if we did so then we might exceed the 250 cm cubed that is required, and you would then have to start again. The fat end of the glass rod is used to crunch up any pieces of solid, and if it was really very insoluble, you might look to heat this while it was still in the beaker. Now the volumetric flask has a white line, or a line in the neck of the flask, which when the bottom of the meniscus is on that white line, it contains 250 cm cubed of the solution. So we have to transfer the solid, which is now dissolved, or looks to be dissolved, into this solution. Now, in order to do this, we've got to make sure that every last bit of the solid ends up in the volumetric flask. So we need to do some washings. We pour to make sure that we lose nothing, we run the glass rod, we put the glass rod in, and we run the liquid down the glass rod, just to keep cleaning the glass rod and to ensure that the liquid clearly, if at any point during this process you spill any of the liquid, you must start again. Okay, so when you take the glass rod out, make sure that none of the liquid spills. Now we're going to do another sequence of washes. So we'd wash down the glass rod, and we would wash, and in fact you make sure that you get the sides solution, all of the solution washed into the bottom. So you do a complete wash, and you repeat the process of adding in the liquid. Okay, so you must make absolutely certain you don't spill any of the liquid, and that you wash anything which the liquid has come into contact with, you wash it back down into the solution. And you might repeat this 3 or 4 times. You're just making absolutely certain that all of the weighed solid has got to the volumetric flask. One more. Making sure, of course, that the sides, wash down the sides. And the final one. Making sure that every bit of the glass rod has been rinsed. Every bit of the inside of the beaker has been rinsed as you head towards the end. Okay. You now need to complete the operation by topping up to the 250 ml mark. Now you would do this initially. There's the 250 ml mark, just with the distilled water bottle. You would bring the distilled water bottle to eye level, and you would continue to add until the liquid comes close to the end. Okay, for the last couple of drops, for safety reasons, you might choose to take the top off the distilled water bottle, use a teat pipette, and very carefully add the last few drops so that the bottom of the meniscus is on the line, putting your eyes at the same level as the line. You then stop at the volumetric flask and invert it. Shake and invert several times to make the solution homogeneous. It is essential that when you come to pipette from this volumetric flask, that there isn't a local build-up of high concentration and conversely low concentration as you do the experiment. So this is a solution which has a known mass of the washing soda in 250 cm cubed of solution.